And our first story, Ghana Health Service figures show that a total of 25,285 teenage girls got pregnant in the eastern region over the last 2 years.
669 of these teenage mothers were aged between 10 and 14. The Nsawam-Adwajiri municipality recorded the highest number of pregnancies in excess of 3,000 during the period. Evelyn Owusu Achal, who is an official of the Ghana Health Service, made this known at a meeting held by the Regional Child and Family Welfare Policy Implementation Committee in Koforidua to discuss matters relating to the protection and growth of children. She hinted that about 3,000 teenage pregnancies were recorded during the first quarter of this year and said the figure could be higher, considering the fact that not everybody would report to the health facilities. To help reverse the trend and enable the young girls to focus on their education, she said the Ghana Health Service had set up adolescent corners in all the facilities to deal with adolescent issues.
The only survivor in a tragic accident in which 3 students of the Central University College died on the spot is said to be in a stable condition, though left with a dislocated hip.
18-year-old Nuhu Iskander was driving the VW Passat salon car with registration number ER22814 when it crashed head-on with a tipper truck some 300 meters from their campus. The police are meanwhile counting on him to help with investigations, as eyewitnesses have not been forthcoming with information.
A visit by Joy News to the accident unit of Tema General Hospital revealed that the victim is traumatized and yet to come to terms with how he ended up at the hospital. Head of the Accident and Emergency Unit, Ernest Nuf Awinemi, says doctors are doing their best to save Nuhu Iskander.
He had multiple laceration and bruises around the palms, both palms, and he came here unconscious. And we received him to our department. We had a senior doctor who took care of him and requested X-ray to be done because he could not even move any part of the body. When the X-ray shows that he had dislocation of the hip joint, that is the right part of the hip, and treatment was started yesterday immediately. As you see this morning, he's very stable. He's now back to conscious level. He can now communicate with us, but he's still traumatized, as we could see. For at the moment, there are plans to reduce, that is to the dislocation, that is to bring back to its original form the dislocated hip. But the patient is in a very good condition, very stable. There are no plans to transfer him because he can be managed here very well.
Meanwhile, Tema MTTU Commander Chief Superintendent Odrua Menin says the whereabouts of the driver of the tipper truck with registration number GR9697X is still unknown. According to him, investigation is becoming a bit difficult for the police as eyewitnesses are not cooperating. He indicated the statements of the tipper truck driver as well as Nuhu, who was driving the VW saloon car, are critical for the investigation.
The tipper truck driver was also not found on the scene, and it was believed that he has gone to the nearest clinic for treatment. But unfortunately, there was an ambulance. This ambulance service, one came there, but he couldn't pick the dead bodies with the pretense that they don't pick dead bodies, but only injured persons they can carry. So police have to find ways and means to get a car to take the bodies to police hospital morgue. So we call in a patrol car. So you should know the frustration the police went through that night.
Chief Superintendent Odrua Menin is urging passengers to be wary of drivers who overspeed so as to avoid fatal accidents.
Even yesterday, during daytime, I was there myself. You see, we go there to prevent some of these things. But our problem is when we are there, you don't see these things happening. But immediately we leave, then you see it happening. Because in the night also, we have the highway patrols on the road. They also goes and come, you see. And when these drivers, they see that the police are on the road, you can get them for the first 10 or 20 minutes, you are there. From there on, you see those people who are passing, when they meet their friends, they give them light, they give them signs that the police are there, so they begin to slow down. Even I like it that way, so that you slow down.
Kwame Yanker's report for Joy News.
A tragic incident there. But social media, though a critical medium of communication, has quickly become an effective tool for the circulation of fabricated stories.
Many have been misinformed after relying on such untruths they consumed on such social media platforms. Now, to check the phenomenon, the Ministry of Communication says they are drafting guidelines to minimize the negative effects of social media use. Deputy Communications Minister Ato Sapong was speaking on the sidelines of the 3rd Annual Psychology Conference here in Accra, says the guidelines will be ready by the 3rd quarter of this year.
The phenomenon of fabricated stories channeled through social media has in recent times proven quite problematic. From the propagation of spurious and damaging claims to the announcement of false storm alerts, many of these stories have been misleading for the people who rely on them. The immediate past chairman of the Electoral Commission was recently rumored to have died, only for him to deny the claims in a radio interview. Though Deputy Communications Minister Ato Sapong says the phenomenon cannot be regulated, he says some efforts could be made to minimize its negative impact.
And as government, we believe that it's a very important tool. It's a very important tool for communicating. It's an important tool for business. It's an important tool for social development. It's an important tool for economic growth. So it's a tool that we embrace, and it's something that we support. And so what we'll do is provide some guidelines on how we use it so that it will benefit all of us. So we've started working on something. It's not advanced yet. We are hoping to get other parties to provide input, yourselves, media. We are looking at something in the 3rd quarter of the year. So that's a period beginning July to September. We should start some discussions on the draft that we have done around that time. And I'm hoping that when the discussions open, all parties will bring input to bear on something that we believe should guide us on how we use social media.
The use of social media and its effect on the individual, institutions, and the society at large was a topical issue at the Psychology Conference. Vice Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Ahmad de Graft Akins, in a presentation, touched on the use of social media and its mental health implication for users.
Can intimate, we haven't done any systematic studies yet, but we can certainly predict that there are mental health implications. The burden in Ghana, 13% are likely to be, intensified, right, by our engagements in the virtual world. So there are a few things I think we could think about. We've got future researchers to look at prevalence of social media use, I think. There's got to be some demographic studies on this. We need to understand the types of use across social categories. Right?
Some of the fabricated stories circulated on social media have sometimes been falsely attributed to traditional media houses. ManjoraOnline.com has had reason to disclaim some of these stories. Chairman of the National Media Commission, Kwesi Jana Penton, says media houses have a critical role to play in that space.
The same should happen. The fact that something has appeared on social media does not automatically mean that it has been verified, for example. So all I'm saying is that the onus is on us as journalists to make sure that whatever we are publishing, we have satisfied ourselves that it is what we want to publish.
The third annual psychology conference was themed Social Media in Contemporary Societies, Effect on the Family, Organizations, Schools and Politics.
I'll start by talking about some of.
Well, let's do some mainstream politics. And the presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party, Ivor Kobna Greenstreet, is warning that cross-border immigration could affect the credibility of the current ongoing limited voter registration exercise.
His comments come amidst fears and allegations of political parties busing people from neighboring Togo and Cote d'Ivoire. Speaking in an interview with Francis Aban, Mr. Greenstreet said the security agencies, the EC and the CPP will ensure the register is not compromised.
Well, I think that we always made our position clear that we felt a new register was going to be very problematic in view of the expense, in view of the timing, and in view of the fact that you're not guaranteed to even solve the problems that this current register has. So, EC has done some cleaning of the register. They did that sometime last year. They cleaned out some, I think some 200,000 names. And so we are expecting that process to continue. And we're expecting to see how we can, as much as possible, do what cleaning we can of the register. But as people have regularly said, dead people don't vote, so you don't ordinarily want to be worried about, and since it's now biometric, you're not going to have a problem. But, any sensible organized institution would not want, thousands and hundreds of thousands of unnecessary names on a register. So we're ready to be part of a process to take the necessary steps to have it cleaned up.
And the leader of the All People's Congress, Dr. Hassan Ayariga, has described as needless plans by the Ghana Police Service to impose bodyguards on presidential candidates of the various political parties.
He says the move is indicative the police have lost focus on their core mandate to protect the citizenry. Hassan Ayariga was addressing a news conference to outdoor his party's final certificate from the Electoral Commission.
The chairman and leader of the All People's Congress, reacting to several issues on the political front, says the institutions mandated to sensitize Ghanaians who have turned 18 on the limited voter registration exercise are not doing their work. This, he says, has created an avenue for some political parties to mobilize people for the exercise.
We don't believe in institutions, we believe in human powers. And that is not what we should be looking at. If our institutions are to work, there is no need of political parties bringing people there. That means that the law is that if you are 18 and above, you go and vote. It doesn't mean that if you are 18 and you don't want to go there, the political party should come and force you there. No, that's not the duty of political parties. And that is why we have chaos in the system. Because the NDC and the MPP think that they have 5 million voters. So if in 2016 they vote and don't get the 5 million voters, it's a problem. The vote has been reached. Don't you think so? Nobody has the right to say I have 5 million. Even your wife, if you don't convince her enough, she won't vote for you.
Hassan Ayariga, touching on the police call for political parties to select officers from the force to protect presidential candidates and their running mates, said the move is needless. He explained that the candidates can provide their own security just like he does, advising the police service to rethink the proposal.
Police who are supposed to give us security are asking us to bring members of our party so that they will give us security. What is the purpose of the police? Why? What is the purpose of the police? You are supposed to make sure that law and order is given to our people. Now you, the police, you are telling the political parties to bring in people to protect them so that we can cause havoc in this country. And you sit and watch. I don't need the police to tell me to bring people to come and protect me. I believe in Ghana. And I think Ghana is a peaceful country. And I am preaching peace. And I don't need police security. So the police should rethink again whether we need that. And that is why, you see, most political parties have tanks. Some call themselves bulldogs or what? Some call themselves vulgar dogs. Some call Azoka dogs. How can human beings become dogs?
Mr. Ayariga is also claiming that his party is the only one to have met all the requirements set by the EC ahead of the November 7 polls, including submitting APC's audited accounts. George Yosin-Vinay for Joy News.
And that'll be it for the news this morning. As always, you have seen something of interest to you. Please make sure you log on to our interactive pages. Let's get to see a lot of your messages.
Stay with us. When we come back, we've got the newspapers for you.